王子，画一口到心里面呀啦，金棒清真知道 anything goes。一往一路去查口讲美好情愫是耍了红颜。
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And today we're going to be taking a look at the new Sideshow Collectibles 1/6 scale Indiana Jones from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Part of their new Cult Classics line, this was a figure I was absolutely looking forward to. As a kid of the 80s, Indiana Jones really was the face in name of adventure. And they even say that right up there, that if adventure has a name, it must be Indiana Jones, because this guy just embodied all of that excitement. Now, while Temple of Doom is not mine, and it's probably not a lot of people's favorite of the indie movies, this is still a really great piece. Now, for the package, you can see this is the Sideshow exclusive version, and I'll touch on that here in a little bit. But for the package, you got the very iconic look, which really kind of replicates that promotional image that Temple of Doom had. Like when you look back to the posters and even like the package on the videotape, which some of you might not know what that is, that's kind of what this is recreating, but they're doing it with their figure, which looks really cool. You come around here to the side, you can see that nice Indiana Jones logo. This side, same thing. Around the back here, you got the various contact information up here, Indiana Jones. And it says, Indiana Jones, the daredevil archaeologist who saved mankind in Raiders of the Lost Ark, is back in one of the biggest box office smashes in history. This time, Indy's out to find the famous Ankara Stone and to save hundreds of children who have been enslaved by a mysterious cult in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It's an action-packed masterpiece of special effects and edge-of-your-seat adventure. Harrison Ford leads an incredible cast in this breathtaking epic shot on 3 continents by the film's creator George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. And then you can see it's just a bit of a slip cover, so you open this up. And I also really like how on the side here you can see some wear marks, which looks really cool. That kind of goes through the whole thing and just gives it that old kind of aged look. And then on the inside here, you've got a little bit something different. You got this little slip thing here on the actual clamshell that you just slide this down, and that comes off. Something like that. You take that off, and then you have the inside here, which has the figure, all of his accessories, and it's all nicely protected in there, except I'm dropping everything. So really cool. I do like that. This is something that's actually a little bit different. I'm not used to that kind of slipping on there. But all in all, the packaging is really very nice on this guy. As I said, this is the Sideshow exclusive version, so we'll touch on all that here in a little bit. But for the packaging, that's about it for it. So without further ado, let's get this guy out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have Henry Jones Jr., otherwise known as Indiana Jones, opened up and out of his packaging. And first, taking a look at all of his accessories, you can see that it actually comes with a fairly decent amount. Now, in addition to the hands that are currently on the figure, he comes with a both right and left fisted hand. As you can see, the right hand has these wraps around them, which are very movie accurate, so you do have that, which look really nice. You get a right and left kind of closed grip sort of pair of hands. You can see that they are a little bit different, though. I mean, obviously, again, you got the wraps around his right hand, but you can see that the close around there is a little bit different, which is nice. I like the fact that they're just not, mirror images of the other figure, or of the other hand. Same with these, you got a little bit more of a wide open grip. Probably better for holding the sword, whereas the more closed grip is probably better for holding his whip. It's just, personal preference. Then you do get a left hand that's in the trigger finger sort of configuration, and then you got a more open grip hand here, which is a little bit more relaxed. It's still real nice detail. You can see all of them do come with the pegs already attached, which is a wonderful thing that Sideshow does. He does come with one left hand that is a little bit more open of a grasp that holds the Ankara Stones. You know what? I'm thinking, yeah, they call them Ankara Stones. They're Sankara Stones. I don't know why they would do that. See, so you got the Ankara Stones here that you can hold a little bit better in his hand when you use that hand right there. Now, like I talked about, he does come with a giant machete, which, like I was talking about, fits pretty nicely here in his more wide open grip hand. One thing that's really very nice is this is all metal, which kind of surprised me, but really very nice. A little bit pointy here, not too terribly bad, but great detail on here. Getting that out of the hand, you can see the handle has a really nice wooden hinged sort of texture with some rivets in there. That's really very cool. Definitely wasn't expecting this to be made out of metal, but that's a nice touch. He also does come with his handgun, which is, that's just iconic and classic for Indiana Jones. You got some nice painted detail in here. Again, with the handle, you got some little gold bits right there. One thing that's cool is you can actually push this through and getting this out. It's a little bit stiff, but you can pull that all the way out, and then you can see the bullets on the inside there. And then when you come around to the other side, one thing that's really neat is you can actually, I don't know how close I'm going to be able to get without it going crazy. I see it gets blurry right there. You can actually see that the bullets are inside there and not just sticking straight out, which is really nice because, they really wouldn't do that. So real nice detail on this gun as well. You push that in there. None of the, the hammer trigger, none of that stuff moves, but real nice detail on there nonetheless. As you can see, he comes with his little satchel right here that you can open up. You can see that it is empty, so if you really wanted to, in terms of display options, you can take this Ankara Stones and you can tuck them in there, leave them like that if you really wanted to, which would be a good display option because he did carry them around in his little satchel, so that's really cool. You do get, just with the regular version, 3 of these Ankara Stones, which are really nicely detailed. I do kind of wish they are sculpted all differently. I do wish they were a little bit more different in terms of the size and shape of them. They're not overly similar right now, but you can see that they do have a similar-ish shape. Now, all of them were kind of varied in sizes. You see they got the really nice 3 slashes on there, which, according to the people that had them, that represents their, 3 levels of the universe kind of thing. So real nice detail on there. I really like the pitting and things that they have. Now, if you get the exclusive version, which this is, you get 3 more that are illuminated. Now, they don't actually light up, but you can see that they're a translucent plastic, which kind of gives them the illusion that they're lit up, especially here with all my lights and everything. That looks really very cool, and you can see that the sculpting is very similar. You got the little 3 slashes on there. I actually don't know if this is the right one. Maybe this is it. So they're all, this is very similar how all of them, or these are very similar to how the regular ones are, but these are really nice. I like that. One thing that's weird, though, is in the movie, there was only 5 Ankara Stones, and here you can get a maximum of 6 of them, so it's kind of strange. The 5 were only what we saw in the movie. 2 were like in the basement of a Pankot Palace. Now, the bad guys had the other 2, and then the 1 was what went missing in that little village that caught Indiana's attention, because they were freaking out because they didn't have them. So you get a total of 6 of them if you get the exclusive. It's a little bit strange, though, because like I said, it really should only be 5. I'm not going to complain too much, but in terms of accuracy to the actual movie, there really should only be 5. Now, he also does come with 2 different types of whips. You can see this one here is all coiled up. This is perfect for displaying on his waist. And then you got one that is fully extended. So if you wanted to have him hold that and kind of wrap that around and kind of get a dynamic sort of look. One thing that I will say is that when you get it out of the package, it's kind of like bent at like a 90-degree angle, but it is a more pliable material. So if you take it and just kind of work it a little bit, you can get it straightened out fairly nicely. My camera is having a hard time focusing on it, but real nice detail on here as well. I really like that. It has a plasticky kind of feel, but really does nicely, replicate a whip. So very happy with that. And then you also do get his very iconic hat, which a lot of people have kind of complained about. The Temple of Doom hat wasn't exactly what the Raiders hat looked like. It changed companies, so it looks a little bit different. But looking at this compared to, the film, I think this actually looks pretty good. The whole hat section up here looks pretty good. The brim around here is a more pliable material, so you can kind of angle the side pieces up. You can bring this down a little bit. Probably would want to heat it up to get a more permanent kind of bend going to the hat. But in general, I think it turned out pretty nice. Now, in Temple of Doom, there were some instances where the hat looked a little bit different than in other hats in the movie, which kind of leads to the speculation that some of the original hats from Raiders made its way into Temple of Doom. That's never been confirmed or anything like that, but for this, I think they did a pretty decent recreation. You can see you got the nice little ribbon there along the side that goes all the way around. Good detail on here. It might have benefited from a little bit lighter of a coloring, not a lot, just maybe like one shade down, but in general I think it turned out pretty nice. Now he also does come with a display stand. Kind of wish that instead of the black on black like they have here, they went with the, you know, more classic kind of indie logo. Like if they went like with that on here, I think that would have looked a little bit better. As it is, I mean, it's not bad or anything, it's just the black on black kind of, you know, hides what you're basically displaying. So that's one thing I think they could have improved on. And then you do have the adjustable cradle. It can pivot and everything, but this slides up and down just like so, so you can get him standing fairly nicely. Then for the figure himself, he comes with like some belts and things like that. I guess you could kind of say those are accessories as well. Come around here to this side, you got a little magnetic clasp right here that comes up and then this lifts up, and you can take his pistol. You can tuck that in there just like so. Get that all the way down and in there. It doesn't seem to fit in there all that great, to be totally honest with you. It kind of like doesn't, you can't close it if you have that gun in there all the way, so that's kind of strange. Maybe it goes the other way. I don't know. Yeah, that doesn't really fit in there all that well. And it feels like it's all the way down. So I don't know. I don't know. Personally, I don't really mind it all that much. I'm just going to leave it like that, just kind of go with that as a display option. Indiana Jones, I mean, yeah, he has his gun, but it's never something that really sticks out in my mind as one of his accessories. And then you got a little hoop right here that I will tell you that you do have to be careful. The magnet on mine, on the extended strap right down here, this piece, the magnet actually detached. I just put some super glue on there and it, you know, attached perfectly fine. But you have that, and then you can take his little coiled up lasso, or whip, not lasso, I shouldn't say that, and then put it on there, and it sits on there very nicely. So again, it's a personal preference in terms of how you want to display them, but you do have those kind of, like I said, extra little accessory kind of holder things right there, so it lets you, you know, store the weapons and things like that. Really, the gun is the only one that you can't close, but honestly, like I said, I'm perfectly fine with it looking like that. This isn't something that I'm going to really, you know, display with Indiana Jones. Coming to the figure himself, one thing that I want to talk about first is on the back of the package. I talked about how it said Ankara Stone, and I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. It should be Sankara Stone, or Shankara, however you want to say it. But what's really cool is this entire read-up is actually taken from the back of the original VHS cassette tape package. So it's really cool that they actually homage that original package kind of screw up by putting it on the back of their box. I actually kind of dig that, and I had to look that up. But that's why these are called the Ankara Stones on the package, and they're trying to escape. But for the figure, now this isn't the first Indiana Jones figure that we've gotten. Hot Toys did one for the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then Sideshow also did one several years ago for the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. As big of an Indiana Jones fan as I am, I never got those because honestly, I never thought they looked all that good. Like, when I looked at that sculpt, I didn't see Harrison Ford. This one, though, I absolutely do. I think Sideshow did an amazing job with this. As you can see, you can take his little satchel and you can sling it over his shoulder. You can get that kind of look right there. You can actually position this. More times than not, his gun holster was in the front here, so you can kind of do that. One thing that I will say, though, and this was mentioned on the Sideshow Freak forums, is that the outfit on here is very stiff. It looks amazing. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's got the teared look here. He's got the rip here. You come around here to the back. He's got all these whip marks on here with some blood coming through. I mean, really very cool. But it is very stiff. Some of the members over there were talking about doing the water treatment trick to this, which is essentially taking the figure, taking the clothes off, basically spraying it with water and then letting it dry. You futz with it and kind of get things down. That actually would probably help out a lot with this guy, and I think that maybe even if you put it in the washing machine and put some fabric softener in there, or dryer sheets, for example, you might get a better sort of lay with some of these actual clothing items. It's not to say that they're bad. I think it looks great, and like I said, it nicely recreates how it looked towards the end of the film with like the torn arm. You got the bandage on the right hand. Again, you got the torn pants down here, and again, you got the rip back here. It's just a matter of, if you want to get this a little bit more real looking, there are things that you can do to kind of do that, and one of those water tricks, like I said, would probably help with it. Me, I'm probably going to take, you know, just a spray bottle, spray it down, let it kind of get wet for a while, and then move everything just to kind of squish it and get it look like it's laying on his body a little bit more. But in general, this looks really good. Now, starting off with his face sculpt first, like I said, I really see Harrison Ford in here. Now, some people may not necessarily see it, and I can agree that it might not be exact, but I think it looks really good, especially when you consider the fact that this is how he looked in 1984, and I think it looks really good. One problem, though, that I do have is you can see that this back hair section here is a separate piece. Part of the gimmick for this is that you can actually take this whole section off and you can bring his hat, and you got the magnet right there, and you can put that on there just like so, and you can recreate that iconic look. The problem, though, with the hair is when you see it around the edges, you can really see the seam on there, and that does look fairly unsightly. Now, I don't know a lot of people that are honestly going to display them like that. Most of the time, people are going to take this off, put this on there just like so, and that's what they're going to do for Indiana Jones. But the hair definitely doesn't look as great as it could look. Then again, some of the images for this kind of had it looking a little bit more, you know, small, I guess you could say, and that's just the way that the Raiders hat kind of looked. It was a smaller hat, but when you look at this, and it does look big on him, but when you compare this, and I actually did, I pulled it up on my Blu-ray player, I held this up next to the image on there. The distance from the brim around here to the top of that is actually pretty accurate looking, and I think that that is a great look for him. Now, obviously, this is a little bit more of a classic representation, and like I said, if you wanted to do some of those scenes where he didn't have the hat on, you can do it like this. I just think the hat looks a little bit better, but the sculpt looks really nice. You got some nice scrapes and cuts on there. Those are just paint applications. You got the little paint right there underneath his eyes. You got the scratches here. You got a little bit of a scratch there on his lip. He does have molded into his chin, his very iconic chin scar right there, which according to Last Crusade, it came from a whip hitting him, which I think was actually pretty cool. But in general, the sculpt on this really is very, very nice. Then you come down to the body and such. It looks pretty good. People have complained about the neck being a little bit too long. Maybe, but I don't think it looks really all that bad. I don't think there was much really that they could do about it, to be totally honest. This upper torso piece is a softer rubber. You can see he's got some nice molded detail for his chest hair and things in there, which really look very good. Same down here with his lower arm. You got some molded in kind of hair with some paint variation. Good muscular body right there. You got his belts, you got his pants. All of it looks really good. You got his boots, which are, well, yeah, they're boots, which all look really good. I love the fact, this is cool, he actually has real string for his shoelaces. That's really very impressive. I did not expect that at all. Overall, though, it really very nicely detailed and very nicely captures his look. Now, for his articulation, the head is on a ball joint here. It does tend to pop off, which is a little bit unfortunate. You're really pushing down, and then you can see that when you come to the back section here, this really does kind of stand out. That kind of looks a little bit unfortunate. It also kind of doesn't match with some of the color. Like you can see the way that his neck is painted is a little bit darker than what's back there on the back of his actual head. So that does stand out, but you got a ball joint right there, and then you got a joint right down there at the lower part of the neck, so you can get that moving up and down. It looks left and right. You do have to be careful with his hair because it will pop off. The shoulders move in and out very nicely. They rotate on fairly soft ratchet joints. He has a bit of an armpit joint. He rotates. I think he does. Oh, no, he actually doesn't. I thought that he had an actual rotation at the upper part of the arm, but he doesn't. That's kind of unfortunate. But he does have one single joint here for his elbow. The wrists are on those pegs that allow you to have him shake hands. It can also rotate. As you can see here, he's got an upper, well, abdomen kind of bend right there, so you can rotate that around. He also does have a hip joint right below it, or waist joint, I should say. He does have hips that move forward and back. The pants kind of get in the way, but if you pull the pant leg up, you can get a full range of motion. They move in and out on softish kind of ratchets. They rotate at the upper part of the thigh. He's got very squeaky double jointed knees. That's something that is very common with Sideshow figures. Their body uses these really rubbery kind of joints that really give you that very unfortunate squeaking sound. I've never been a big fan of that, but the joints are really nice and strong. It's just that squeaky rubberiness of them that kind of throws things off a little bit. And then the ankles down here are on ball joints, so you get a nice range of motion with that. But all in all, I mean, all the articulation that you could possibly want in the figure is there. It's just, you do have to be a little bit careful when you're moving things around, because as you can see, the pants, or I'm sorry, the shirt is tucked underneath here, so you do got to be careful as you're doing it, because that could untuck it. I mean, it's already partially untucked here just as the general look for him, but the more that you mess with it, the more that it can pull it out. And then taking this off, because I just like that. People were asking if it rubs, if there's going to be any paint rub or anything. You can see that, I mean, just putting it on there, it sits on there perfectly good. You can squish it down a little, not really much. So I can't imagine it doing much paint rub on there in terms of his forehead or anything, because it sits perfectly flat right there, and you only move it down maybe a smidge. So there could be some paint rub, but I don't think it's going to be much of a problem in the long run. But overall, I really absolutely love this guy. Like I said, I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan, and all the other ones previous just didn't do it for me. It didn't have that look that I was going for him, and it really didn't look like Harrison Ford, in my opinion. This definitely does, and I'm really happy about him. In general, I am really very happy with how this turned out. As I said, I've never picked up an Indiana Jones figure despite me absolutely loving the character, because a lot of the figures just didn't have that likeness. I really do think that Sideshow this time, though, has nailed it. Now, some people might not like it. I personally do. But I think in general, most collectors are going to be pretty happy with this. In terms of his accessories, he comes with a really good assortment. I mean, he comes with what you would basically need or want Indiana Jones to come with. Obviously, he comes with his hat, he comes with his whip, comes with a pistol. I mean, those are all things that you would expect to get. If you get just the standard version, you do get the regular Ankara Stones. But if you get the exclusive version, you get the translucent ones that look more illuminated. So naturally, I'm going to tell you to pick up the exclusive one, because for the same price, you get more accessories with them, and that just makes sense. I like the fact that you can swap out the hat for the hairpiece. Despite the seam for the hair kind of fitting on the actual head looking a little bit weird, I still like it. It's a nice option for you. I do kind of wish that the display stand had a little bit more color in it. Like I said, I like the fact that they have Indiana Jones there. I just wish they used the coloring for the actual logo as opposed to this black on black. And as I talked about with the clothing, I do think that this would be one of those instances where doing like that water treatment, or maybe even washing it in your washing machine, might help to soften it a little bit to give it a more natural sort of flow on the actual body. But all in all, I think he turned out very, very nicely. Now, granted, if I were to pick my perfect look for an Indiana Jones, it wouldn't be how he looked at the end of the Temple of Doom. I mean, I'd be happy if he had the full-on shirt with his jacket, kind of what like he came with before, but I'm glad to see that they did something different. And my fingers are massively crossed that we'll get an Indiana Jones in the Last Crusade version, because The Last Crusade is my favorite of the movies. And that would just be a perfect addition to my collection. But all that being said, if you're interested in picking this guy up, he is available right now at Sideshow Collectibles. So all you have to do is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to Sideshow, where you can check out availability on this guy, as well as the rest of their 1/6 scale figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus. Don't forget to please like, comment, and subscribe in case you haven't already subscribed. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.